Quick editorial note. So this was the very first time that we actually recorded the Ultracast live, and I might have made a big oopsie. While I was getting everything ready, I might have muted myself at the beginning of the podcast and never actually remembered to unmute myself while we were discussing Supernova. If you're wondering why I'm not contributing to the conversations at the beginning, it's because I didn't unmute myself. The beginning part of the podcast was dedicated to us breaking down the runs of every Team Ultra member that was there to compete at Supernova. We talked about players like Yeast, Wonky Drive, Osh9, Deli Boyd, and I think we got to Niwo until I finally realized that I hadn't unmuted myself. Big massive shout out to Dr. Curb and also Cody for holding it down, contributing enough to the conversation so that it doesn't seem empty and hollow. But please keep that in mind. I think once we get to the part where we're talking about Niwo, that's where we sort of noticed that I hadn't unmuted myself. But enough of that. Please enjoy the actual episode, and don't forget to subscribe and like if you enjoy the episode. Take care.
I think he's accurately seeded. He's accurately seeded, I'd say, but he's a higher seed because that's I think that's at the end of phase 3. So it's like if he makes it out of pools, makes it out of the next phase, or like barely. Let me actually check that because yeah, so he's seeded to make it to the net because there's 3 phases. There's obviously pools, and then there's phase 2, which is like pools part 2. And then there's phase 3, which is all best of 5, so he's seeded to make it to all best of 5. That's an accurate path. I think he's gonna lose to both. No offense to Yeast, but I mean, when you're a brawler player and you're playing ESAM, who's like one of the best brawler like minds in the world. Like he doesn't play the character in bracket, but he knows the character really well. So I feel like if ESAM doesn't get upset, he's just gonna lose to ESAM, and plus there's not really any Pikachus in Tri-State that are notable that he's played, so it's just gonna be a difficult road when he does play ESAM. And then the same kind of deal with enhanced PV. He's not really a hidden boss, but he's one of those players where it's like if he travels, you know he's gonna be good. And then he has Slashy in his region, and Slashy is also a really good brawler. So, and there's also just Clouds in Tri-State, but enhanced PV is one of the better ones, probably top 5 in the world when he actually travels. So I think he just does as projected.
I haven't been keeping up with Yeast runs all too much as of lately, but pretty sure doesn't Yeast have a win on ESAM?
No, they've never played.
But yeah, no, I guess my stance then would probably be the same as Dr. Curb then, honestly. Because like I mean, like if he doesn't have the experience, then that's gonna be tough for you to go in if you have no not like prior knowledge of those matchups, right?
I mean, it's not even just matchup experience either. It's just like ESAM is the brawler guy in NA. Like he's not like the best brawler in NA, don't get me wrong, but like if you think of brawler, you're probably gonna think of someone like Fire the Pyro, ESAM, Apple Reviewer, Osh, Yeast, something like that. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
you're just gonna get player diffed because he just knows that character inside out. And enhanced PvE's played longer than him, played Slashy for a lot of his career, so it's like they just know the brawler matchup better. Before we move on, I will say offline enhanced PV does have the overall head to head over Louis Money, who he does have to play before Yeast because he's projected to lose to Louis Money and then play Yeast. So I wouldn't be surprised if like my answer wouldn't change. I still think Yeast would lose either way, but I would say he's a better shot against Louis Money just because there's a bunch of Palu experience from like Marvale and Mateo up in that region. So he has a better shot there, in my opinion. I think he can do it, but I don't know how he plays. He's a perennial O2 or offline, so like if I'm gonna be realistic, it'll probably be 1-2-2-2, something like that.
Well, he mains Falcon, right? I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't really have much to say personally. I only really know Wonky mostly for his for what his comment he does for commentating. I have never seen the man play ever in my life, so I don't really know what he's capable of. But I think if he goes in there with a good mindset and just kind of like just goes in there to have fun, I think maybe he can pull off out of that 1-2 curse that he has or whatever, and maybe pull maybe like a 2-2. Or maybe even further. Who knows? I'm just kind of optimistic about it. I've never seen him play before, so I don't really
He's
have
winning
much.
the event.
I don't have much to say on it. But yeah, no. I think if he goes in there with a good mindset, I think he can do really well if he puts his head into it.
He beats MVD 100%. He played AK at CEO, and that was when AK was still like playing really, really well. 3-0'd him. He swept him. And I believe like I get it's probably gonna be a bit more even considering ESAM and MPD are on the same team, so they probably are like, oh, let's practice this matchup so we can make sure you don't get upset. But I think especially since Osh has just been playing really hot lately, I am very much confident that he beats MVD and then takes his run. But if he doesn't, it's gonna be a little challenging because he has to play Squiggles, who is from my region. He plays a bunch of different characters. He has Brawler in his Smasher set, but he plays Brawler, Lucas, and Wolf. He'll likely go Wolf in that matchup. So that could go either way, and I could see Osh losing that and up getting upset early. But outside of those two particular matches, I think he just does as projected, beating Temporary Plan and losing to DM, especially since DM plays Apple Reviewer, or used to play Apple Reviewer all the time before he moved to Jersey. So I would bank on Osh getting an upset over MVD, and then probably losing to Modzai since Modzai plays Kid, who's probably the best brawler in the world, and then having to go through the Me Gunner Belmont path, and then losing to Luigi, losing to Luigi, who's the best, one of the best Luigis in the world. And Osh, you're my goat, but you have a very, very, very bad Luigi problem. So I feel like your run would end there if you were to upset MVD. Apple Reviewer doesn't play like Osh because no offense again, Osh, you love to go for Thrupper like it's your main thing. So and DM is very respondent on that. If you just have to change up your playstyle and be wary, that'll be the biggest challenge for him. Because like I look at him and Yeast. Yeast plays a very neutral based brawler and can just get in, and because he recognizes that a lot of the people know the brawler SDI, because again he has Apple Reviewer in his same region, so his region is probably the most brawler tested in the country. So he plays very differently. Florida does not have that. USAM does not go brawler. He probably doesn't travel to locals either. So Osh definitely gets away with a lot more stuff down there. So I think generally speaking, he'll have a hard time. This is a difficult path, but if he can upset MVD, he'll have a lot an easier of a path because losers just comes down to all these people either play brawler or have a very good understanding of brawler.
Well, this is gonna go back a bit further, I guess, just because, like, well, here's the thing. I've known Osh for since 20. It was like early 2022, I think it was, since I've known Osh, and or early mid, somewhere around there. And from the time that I've known him and how much he's grown as a player since then, it's probably one of the biggest growths I've ever seen from a player that I know within the Smash community. When I first met him, like he was probably like maybe a typical like 3-2 or 4-2, so maybe sometimes maybe a 4-2 or a 5-2. But now that he's grown so much over just the span of 2 years, getting third at Coin Box, which mind you had almost 800 entrants that has very notable players in it, is something very impressive. Yeah, he's just like one of those players that, like, no matter if he's playing offline or online, he can take what he's doing. Like, so for example, if he plays online for for a while, he can take what he's done online and replicate it offline without any issues. And there's not a whole lot of people that can do that. Nothing really, except that I'll say I'm very proud of how far he's come, because like I've known this man for like well over 2 years now, and just seeing like how far he's come is just incredible. Definitely one of the biggest growths I've seen from a player, for sure.
I agree. I just noticed that first off, he just got one hell of a Wi-Fi path. I mean, going to SmashCon, having to play Vendetta and Zap is very funny. But second of all, he has to play right before he has to play Zap, he has to play Jackarot. And in particular with Jackarot, he plays Dark Angel a lot, and that set record is pretty even. And I'd say that overall Dark Angel is a better Toon Link than Deli Boyd. So he has to just keep an eye out on that because there's not any notable hero players in Virginia at all. So he could get matchup inexperienced and lose early, especially since it's best of three. So I would not be surprised if that was the case. But and that would suck too, because if he were to lose, he would have to play Willie and losers, and both of them play a lot and they're pretty even because they're in the same region. So he would have to avoid the upset so he wouldn't have to play someone within his own region. But in general, I think his path will go as projected. He's played Vendetta plenty of times before. It's been pretty close, but Vendetta always knows how to squeeze it out. But since it's offline in particular, I would say Vendetta is definitely a lot more favored. And then Zap's a bit of a wild card because sometimes he does really well and then sometimes he does really bad. but I feel like since it's SmashCon, he's definitely going to be prepared. He wants to get himself a long-term sponsor. He's been looking for that for ages. So I think his path will go as projected, but if he loses to Jackarot, then there's no telling. There's no telling how it'll go.
I don't have a whole lot to say on Delay Boy because I haven't really seen him play very much. I know he mainly plays offline, right?
Yes.
So I honestly I haven't seen Delay Boy play a whole lot. So I don't really have much to say in that regards because I don't follow him all too much. But let me see what his bracket path is looking like because I actually don't have it pulled up right this moment. Okay.
Litman is a DDD and Jackarot is a hero.
Okay. I think the hero and DDD isn't really too much of an issue. I think regardless, I think that's probably gonna be an easy winning matchup for him anyway. Especially with like Toon Link or even the Inkling. But when it comes to TM7 Zap, of course, I think most people would agree that Toon Link and even Inkling beats Bowser Jr. But at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter all too much because you're fighting TM7 Zap, which is like the best junior in the world. So that's definitely a big feat to take on. I think he has the potential to do it. I think you have to make a bit of an upset. If he ends up beating Zap, I think he would probably lose to Vendetta though.
If he beats Zap, then he plays Mars.
Okay, well, if he beats Zap, then yeah, he would probably lose against Mars, probably, yeah. But I think he has a fair shot, at least making maybe close to out of pools or somewhere in losers. But I guess we'll see. Only time will tell. Again, I don't have much else to say on Delay Boy because I haven't seen him play in ages, and when I did, it was a long time ago.
I think again he just goes as projected. Sam is a very good Inkling, and I understand he has a lot of Inkling experience, but a lot of Inkling players, like it's Inkling, there's a bunch of like lower level Inklings, and then there's just a huge gap between the rest of the really good ones. And Sam is one of the very few really, really good ones that are still left, especially in North America. So I think for anybody, it'll be a challenge to play against Sam. So especially since they recently top 8 at Gridiron Gateway, which was their last big event. So it'll be difficult for sure. Losers, I think they'll do just fine. 7, they've not Nemo hasn't played a pit to my memory, but I still think they would probably get that. And then they play Odyssey and a bunch of other Diddy Kongs in Florida all the time, so they got it against Spectre. But not sure about REA. I think that could go either way. I don't REA doesn't have a lot of foreign experience, but Nemo also doesn't have a lot of top NES experience, so we would just have to see how the cookie crumbles there. But if he upsets him, he just would probably lose to Valor. Sonic, very good Sonic player that doesn't travel a lot, but when they do, it is one hell of a run from them. So I think that's if they were to upset someone, it'd be the NES player, and they just fall to Valor.
Well, I do know. So back at LMM 2023, he was there when I was there in person. So I got to talk to him, meet him for a bit, and I was able to overview some of his matches that he had. Um, Albeit that was a tournament that where he didn't perform as well as I'm sure he would have liked to. It was a bit on the lower side for him. But ever since then, because that was like basically 10 months ago now, so it's been a bit now since then. I know over that 10-month time span, I feel like Nebo has really proven himself a bit more, and they've all honestly improved a lot since then. Haven't been following. I've been following him a little bit here and there, and I do know his results have been going back up compared to what they were like back then. I think going into this bracket, I think if he goes in with a good mindset, I think he can do whatever. I think he can pull off some W's. But my question is, in terms of like the matchups he has in his pathway, who does he have to fight? Because I don't have that on here right now. Let me see.
I think I mentioned that he's slated to fight Jonah Zigo, Waiachi, loses to Sam, the Inkling player that Scott was talking about, wins on 7 and advances, and ultimately loses to REA, a Ness/Snake player. And I hate to interrupt, but I had a massive fuck up that I just noticed
What did you do,
Oh,
Alex?
on my end on the fucking stream. I think I was muted for a good while. I don't remember when the
Oh
last
no!
I don't remember when the last time I was unmuted. Let me double check. I don't know at
Yikes.
what point I did that. I don't know at what point I muted myself. I would need to go back and see when was the last time I was audible.
While you're doing that, can I finish up on Niwa?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I know he plays Corn. I think Nebo used to play Byleth too, no?
Um,
Or am I misremembering?
you might be thinking of Anaconda, but
Oh, I know Anaconda plays it, but like, I thought he had like Byleth as a secondary. I could be thinking wrong. But I don't really know too much on Corn. Although I will say I do like watching Corn, like watching players like Shattuck play is very entertaining. And I think if you know what you're doing with Corn, Corn is absolutely busted in a lot of guards. I think Needle is one of the best moves in the entire game. I mean, of course, if you land it, obviously, because that shit hits like a truck. Um, I think as long as, again, I don't really have too much knowledge on the Corn matchups per se, because again, I don't play Corn. I've only just seen my fair share of Corn matchups here and there in tournaments and whatnot. But I think as long as this is the main thing I always say about any player in bracket. If you go in with a good mentality and just try not to stress over it and just try to have fun at the end of the day, I think you can at least do as well as you want to in some capacity.
anything else on Newell before we move on?
No, do you want me to transition to the next player?
Now, the next player that I got was Champagne Champ Landon, the homie, who is seeded to place or seeded 914. Landon or Champagne has gone to SmashCon 2023 and 2022. At 23, he got 513th out of 2,431. At SmashCon 2022, he placed 1,025th out of 2,133. So it seems like every year that he's been going, he's been placing better. So we'll see if this year is any different. I know that this specific season, or at least for the past 6 months, he's been favoring playing Kazuya over Sonic, and just through having conversations with them and asking him why, it just kind of seems like this season he's just been having a lot more fun with the Kazuya over the Sonic. We'll still pull out the Sonic every once in a while, but is heavily favoring the Kazuya. In terms of his bracket path, he's slated to fight Godzilla versus, and is slated to lose to Sonito, who is a Snake and Sonic player. It's looking like they will potentially win up against Low Ruler and eventually lose to Go Keska, a Fox player. And in terms of those two players, it doesn't really seem like he's had, specifically in his region, it doesn't really seem like there's any other notable Sonic that could potentially give him Sonic experience. I don't remember anything in terms of a Snake, but in terms of Fox, he does have a losing record on Jade, but does have a winning one on Chris 05, which, again, kind of like what you were saying earlier in terms of Inkling and the level gap, the skill gap in between players. I think potentially the skill gap between Jade and Chris 05 is like there, you know what I mean? Two different calibers of foxes.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think if he gets to the Fox, he wins because this Fox player, I'm looking at their results right now. They don't have a lot of Kazuya experience. They don't get to play Wily a lot, and they're very upset prone. So I would not be surprised if I wouldn't be surprised. I would be surprised if he didn't get to play the Fox at all. But if he does get to play the Fox, I think he's got that. And Sunito, he's definitely going to lose that because they know each other pretty well. Sunito has dropped Sonic entirely. He plays Snake now. So I think he's just going to lose to Sunito. I get he has Malachite and Cobra experience, if I'm remembering the Snake player from LA correctly. But Sunito's on a whole different level. So I think he either goes as projected or wins one more match and then falls to Ninja the Mario.
Did you mention anything about Snake?
Yeah, I said he plays Malachite, and I think their tag is Cobra. I know there's like a native Snake player in there's a native Snake player in Louisiana. I just don't know who it is because Malachite travels back and forth. He is from Houston, but also is from goes to LA sometimes, so I'm just gonna check who because like I know Cobra's the Mario player on Wi-Fi, obviously, but there's another Cobra.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like I'm just looking them up real quick. Am I
Um,
right? Am I right? Yes, I was right. They are a Snake player. My memory
nice.
served me correct. So he has a lot of experience against Cobra, but I still think he's just gonna lose to MVD or not MVD, Sunito.
Sunito. Yeah, Sunito's looking to have a pretty strong run. Cody, anything, potentially any words of encouragement, any thoughts about Champ going into this? Again, I mentioned earlier that it appears that every year he's been kind of having a better run so far from 2023, now leading up to 2024, the first technically the first Supernova. And leading up to this event, some notable placements that he's had at NOLA Smash Monthly 79 and 78, both D tier events. At 79, he's placed 7th out of 29. At 78, he placed 17th out of 53. And also, he placed 13th out of 36 at LA Nexus 12 Reload, which was also a D tier. So, those are some events leading up to this run right here. Anything to say about Champ going into Supernova, Cody?
Well, I mean, I've seen Champ play numerous times, and of course, I've played him before. I've more so, of course, I've played more of his Sonic than Kazuya, because of course, Sonic is just kind of his main, but I think, like you said, he's been playing a bit more Kazuya recently. I think depending on like what kind of matchups he's faced with or people he fights, I've kind of known Champ for his results. Like they've kind of sometimes been all over the place, sometimes they've been really high, and there's also some of those to it. I think honestly, in my opinion, if I think there's gonna be some matchups where I feel like he's gonna have to pull out the Sonic, because I feel like even though Kazuya to an extent is a very broken character, as I'm sure a lot of people know, um, I think there's definitely some matchups he might run into where because Kazuya doesn't really have range and can't really approach as well as Sonic can. Sonic, you can honestly do whatever. I'm honestly by this saying here, I don't think Sonic has any losing matchups at all whatsoever in this game. Maybe one, but that's about it. I think for the most part, though, I think he can probably at least make it out of pools. I'm very confident in that. Seen him do it before. I mean, at another tournament that's just as big as this one. He did it at Genesis, not last Genesis, but the Genesis.
Genesis 9.
Yeah, Genesis 9. He did it. Yeah, he made it out of pools. So I think he can probably replicate that again if he puts his mind to it. Of course, I think there's going to be certain situations where he might have to pull out the Sonic in favor of not playing Kazuya. But honestly, I have confidence in him, and I think he can honestly make it out of pools. I've seen him do it before, and I think he can do it again.
Nice. Yeah, you've had the experience of actually being at events with him. I was there recently at Genesis X. Didn't really keep up with this run. Dude was dude's too popular, man. That man was like, "Hey, I'm in the VIP room, come through. I'm playing friendlies with Shattuck and Riddles, dog. Come through." And it's like,
I
dog,
mean,
He was also
damn.
a volunteer, so that's
and
probably
me,
why he got access to those rooms.
Yeah,
yeah, and meanwhile,
didn't he also have a press? He had a press pass. We all did.
we all did. Well, I was supposed to, but meanwhile, I was sick for most of the time, so we're not gonna talk about that though. I want to forget that ever happened.
Yeah, we already talked about that. But yeah, big shout out to Champ. And also just while you were discussing that, I kind of already got an idea of how I'm gonna fix it up for the YouTube side of things. So no need to worry there. I'll make it happen. It's all good. It won't be it won't be lost. So yeah, next up we talked about Champ. Next up I want to discuss Atomic, who is seated pretty high at this event, seated 73rd at this event. They've been to one SmashCon previously, SmashCon 2023, where they placed 97th, pretty great placing out of 2,431. Is slated to fight up against DVD, Mr. Bruce, Nimbus, Ollie Omar player 88, is slated to lose up against Send, But then after that, wins on Peanut, Ice Knight, and then eventually it's slated to be that he loses to Mars. I did write that he does recently have a win on Atata at Afterburner 2024, and doesn't really seem like they have a lot of CSS experience. Just basing off the quick research that I did. Again, I might be wrong, but again, the Atata win could potentially set him up for success on that predicted send loss. So we'll see how that goes. And again, I feel like with Mars, it just can go either way. But Curb, what do you think of their bracket path? Anything that you can see happening or anything different here?
He is 1,000,000% losing to Mars, but if he can get to send, when he gets to send, I think he can beat him just because he did recently play Atata. And Atata right now is probably better than Send, just because Send hasn't been traveling recently. He's just been a very inactive player. Still very good, but he just doesn't get out to a lot of events because he's in Utah. And Utah, like outside of Crown, which unfortunately got canceled this year, there's just not a lot going on there. So maybe he takes it over Send, but again, wouldn't want to put too much there. So I think he either beats Send and then my my Smashers app is tweaking right now, so let me pull it back up. If he beats Send, he would have to play Light and he's getting cooked by Light.
Yeah.
But if he loses to Light, or when he loses to Light, he plays Zap, which he does have a winning record over. So I think he beats Zap. He will beat Beastmo Paul because Rob Rob Hero is one of his Hero's worst matchup. So I think he can take it over Beastmo Paul. And then he would play Onin, who had a very close set with him at Afterburner. It was game 5, so that could go either way as well. I think his run, Atomic's run, has a lot of potential, but if he
Yeah.
loses to Send, doesn't look too great because Mars is very well versed in the Rob matchup. So I think he has to beat Sen in order to have a breakout type run.
Yeah, no, and I think what I wrote here leading up to this event, some notable placements are LMBM, which is an S plus tier, 97th out of 832. Collision, another S plus tier, 17th out of 666, and second out of 178 at Dream Championship Series was a B tier. Um, yeah, I guess it all just really depends on how that goes in order for him to have that breakout run. Again, that setup against the Teta that he did win was pretty convincing, 3-2, 3-1 actually, up against the Teta, and it just all depends on how the pieces fall during that. Any thoughts on Atomic, Cody, before we move on to the next player?
Atomic. I know I'm slurring my speech. Jesus Christ. Uh, I think Atomic, honestly, because I know, I mean, he's ranked in DFW, and I've seen what Atomic is capable of. And you said he's slated to like, or in his pathway at least, is Mars, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
like
if he loses to Sen.
if he loses to Sen,
Okay.
he'll fight up against Mars, who it looks
Okay.
like they're predicting that will eventually eliminate him.
Okay. Personally, I think you can beat Sun. Because again, I haven't seen Sun play in a while, and as Scott said, of course, Sun hasn't been traveling all too much. So I think there's a fair chance that Atomic can beat him. But if he doesn't, I think just as mentioned before, I do know that Mars does have a lot of experience in the Rob matchup. So I think that would probably be very tough for him. I mean, Atomic could also pull up the Joker, but I'm pretty sure Mars has experience in that too because Mars plays Joker too. So I don't think either one of those characters would probably go very well for him. Um, but I think if he beats Send, I think I can see him at least. If he beats Send, does that put him out of pools?
Uh, Pools is 3 phases, mind you. So, Pools is
Okay,
2
that's right.
phases.
Yeah.
So if he's guaranteed to make it out of what would be considered Pools.
Yeah.
Okay. I think if he beats Send, then yeah, I think he has a fair shot at doing that. Yeah. But
He
if
plays Send in phase 3, so he would have already been out of pools at that point. The question would be if he would make it to top 24.
okay, um, that's a good question then, because
Moving past that, let's say that he does beat Sen. That's entering top 24,
That enters top 128 winner's side.
128.
So
Okay.
that would mean he makes it to winner's side of phase 3.
from what I've seen from him, I think he has the potential to do it. I mean, I've seen him, and he also had a run too at Genesis. He was at Genesis, right?
Which one?
Was no, you know what? I'm thinking
He
of Skeleton.
wasn't. He
Never
wasn't
mind.
at Genesis. You're
Oh,
definitely thinking of Skeleton.
okay, never mind. Yeah, that was Skeleton. My mind was a bit hazy on that.
Same region.
So yeah, same region. That's probably why I got mixed up. But again, he's ranked in DFW, and I've seen Atomic pull off some incredible victories before. So I think he can be. I think he has a chance up against Send. If he loses, though, I think he would probably end up losing to Mars most likely.
All right. Yeah, there's Atomic being one of the bigger names in Ultra. I've seen him do some amazing things, incredible things, but there's been specific moments where he's just so close, just like super close to having that like just crazy win on a specific player. Or the one thing that always comes to mind is that set that he had. I forget what the tournament was, but he had a setup against Death Spade, who literally,
Rewired.
like, yeah, it was rewired. Literally, like, that last interaction was like all that like was preventing him from continuing that run. So there are specific moments like that that I could like remember and pinpoint in the back of my head, but I know that he is slated for greatness, and so again, if the cards are played right and everything falls in line and he locks in, which I know that he definitely will be. I know that recently he also wasn't able to go to Smash Factor due to injury, and so I know that he's potentially just itching to have that crazy run at a big stage like that again. So I really definitely am excited to keep up with this run there too. Yeah, we mentioned, I see the chat, we did mention his collision run, which was an S plus tier, getting 17th out of 666th. Next up, again, we just mentioned him, but Skeleton seated 148. And one thing to mention, and again, I don't know if anything has changed, but this is potentially his last
It
tournament.
still is. It still
Um,
is.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, he's retiring after this tournament still.
yeah, I always say potentially because in the Smash world, you just never know. You just
That is
never know.
true. That is true. People
So
retire and then come back 2 weeks later.
yeah, so you
Uh,
never
uh, uh,
know.
that also means we're losing one of our greatest players too.
Well, again, we're gonna have to wait and see. We'll have that conversation when that happens after the weekend. But um, don't want to dwell on that too much because again, he does have a crazy weekend ahead of him. Again, seated 148th, is slated to fight up against Sin. Kudzukru, Cyphus is looking like he will lose to John Numbers, who again is a Wii Fit trainer. Wins on Duck 190, Yellow Salami, and eventually it's looking like he will fall to Longo, who is a Rob. They do have a losing record to Atomic, but still, that is a lot of experience that he has with them. So potentially could play into the matchup up against Longo. Doesn't seem like they have any real Wii Fit experience, but before we get into the breakdown of the potential run that he's about to have, earlier this year, he had an insane run, the best run of his career at Genesis X, getting set, which was a P tier, getting 17th out of 1,398. So the skill is there, the ability is there. We know that he has the potential to lock in and make some insane stuff happen. And again, I feel like if this is going to be his last run, I know that he definitely would like to make it a very notable one, a very satisfying one, or maybe if he is having those doubts again, it's the Smash scene. People retire, they come back in 2 weeks, like Scott said. Maybe this is if he does have that run that he potentially does want to have. Maybe it'll give him some confidence to potentially continue. So this is a very emotional one for him. This is a very important one for him, regardless of what his decision is at the end of the weekend. And so yeah, this is out of everything, the story for him there is has a lot of weight. But getting into his actual run, however, what do you think of his path for Skeleton, Cody? I mean Scott or Cody, whoever.
I'll let him go first.
I feel like it's all. Hopefully, my computer doesn't crash. No, we're good. I think it really depends on his mentality
Yeah.
because, like you said, very good player in his own right, has really good results, but lately hasn't really been feeling the game. His results have not been great in terms of the standards that he has. He's been underperforming a lot of his Luby ranked events, but the path he does have is very favorable for him post John numbers. I don't think he's going to beat him just because what Wii Fit experience is there. Like I know
Yeah.
there's Varun in Texas, but it's John Numbers. John Numbers is just that built different. So
He's
I feel
like
like that's
the
gonna be
Wii
a
Fit,
very
the Wii Fit.
he is the Wii Fit trainer next to Xavier. So
Yeah.
it'll be difficult. Like Xavier's very aggressive, potent. John Numbers will camp you out 5 times and shake your hand GG's. So it's like that's gonna be very hard. I think he wins against Duck 190 and Yellow Salami. I mean, he plays Beastly all the time, so he's got the Diddy experience. And there's plenty of Foxes like Dark. He's played Light a couple times, so he's got definitely got some good Fox experience. Longo, he is in Germany, so he does not have the Kazi experience because he doesn't play Modzai a lot. So that could be an upset again if he's playing well. So I say because even though he has a losing set record to Atomic, playing Atomic that many times, him being on like your close friends and whatnot, you're gonna get a lot of good experience from him. So I think he can definitely beat Longo, and then he loses to Leviathan, formerly known as what was his tag? Nido Sharp. Yeah. So I think he
Ah,
loses that, but again, it's just gonna all come down to his mental because he could have one of those off days where it's like he loses to Yellow Salami and then he just calls it quits. So it's like it's all gonna come down to his mental. Again, as you said perfectly, very emotional bracket for him, potentially his final ever serious Smash tournament. So that's all it's really gonna come down to. Is his mental gonna be good? And if his mental is good, can he just clutch it up, get those wins, and then even regardless of if he does well or not, can he just get a tournament he's satisfied with to potentially send him off?
again, just like I'd mentioned and just like you did mention, um, potentially the mentality is definitely there. You know, just from sponsoring him, from he's one of my the people that one of the person that have one of the players that has been part of this DBE and Ultra journey for the longest time. Um, and you know, I know about his mentality and how the pressure that he puts on himself to do well. And again, if this is legitimately going to be his last big bracket as like an official competitor, you know, of course, you know, there's people that actually retire, they don't really care, they go out, they compete as a more social thing, you know, their friends are there, they want to get out there and just have fun, not really care too much about results. um and maybe his headspace is like, I'm just gonna go out there, have fun. I don't really care, whatever happens happens. um but I have a feeling that potentially is not the case. I feel like what I said earlier is going to be more so how it plays out for him. And hopefully that lingering thought of, you know, going out with the bang doesn't get in the way of him locking in and really, you know, proving to himself, you know, even if even regardless of if he does have a good run, at least he can go out and say, yeah, I fucking did that shit and I did it to the best of my ability, you know. And hopefully if it doesn't go his way, then he just goes out and has a lot of fun and doesn't let it ruin his weekend. Because again, big event, lots to do. And I am I think I you know I really wish I could compete. I not compete, but like travel to these events and do all that stuff. You know, I don't really get like FOMO for a lot of things. This event is definitely one that I'm feeling the FOMO. Like it's just looking to be, you know, I hate to say, I don't know if it sounds corny, but it's looking to be a movie. Like it's
Hey,
just
I looked it up. It's the fifth largest Smash Ultimate tournament of all time.
that's
Fifth
what
largest.
that's what I mean. Is like it's definitely gonna be one for the books, and it's gonna be it definitely has made me inspired to look into going to it next year. But yeah, a very emotional one there for Skeleton, and I wish them nothing but the best on his run. Cody, anything you want to say about Skeleton before we move on to the next person?
Not a whole lot, but I have been keeping up with Skeleton over the past like amount of time that he's been part of Ultra, and I know he's been picked up other sponsors as well. He has a college sponsor. Is it him that has one of those or no?
If he
No.
continues to play,
Yeah.
he'll be on UTA next year. But if he doesn't, then he'll just go to UT as a student.
Yeah, you're
Okay,
thinking
isn't
of
it?
Beastly and Atomic
Okay, I gotcha. You're right.
in that region.
Mm-hmm. Regardless though, I think if he keeps again, I know one thing that Scott mentioned a minute ago is that like maybe his mental might not be all there completely entirely because like his results haven't been up to par of what they usually were, but seeing what he's done in the past, I know he has the potential to at least make it far, and I think if he puts his head into it, um, and goes in there with a good mindset, a good mentality. I think he can make it out of pools. I've seen him done tremendous, work before. He got 17th at Genesis this year, mind you, which is an incredible feat. That's not easy to do. So I think he can pull something off like that again if he puts his head into the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think for me the biggest thing with Skeleton is definitely going to be the mentality that he has, and if he just doesn't let a potential loss in his bracket path get the best of him and let it affect whatever he has going happening next. Um, Next up, moving past Skeleton, we have Overdrive. Again, another player that I kind of wrote couple things about. This was like one of the last people that I wrote, so feel free to fill me in on Overdrive as a competitor and leading up to this one. But Overdrive seated 894th at Supernova. It's slated to fight Runa. Right after that, if they do end up winning that, they will face Henry Luma, um, which is a Rob, it looks like. Wins after that, wins on Leather, and is slated to lose to E-Tank, which is a Snake player. Didn't get the opportunity to write much of anything else for him, but anything you want to add in for Overdrive, Scott?
I know he's been competing a lot more offline. The results have been a little bit inconsistent, so I wouldn't put too much on his run. I think he does as projected, but when you're in this type of situation, like he's gonna lose to Henry Luma, no doubt. He's beaten AK, but like Henry Luma's just a really good player in his own right,
Mm-hmm.
and he has that chip on his shoulder. He wants to do really well. Recently just graduated, so he wants to like get a sponsor now that he can get a sponsor. So he's definitely gonna win that. And then the thing with these lower seeds, I was saying of wonky drive earlier, and it's anything goes really. I think Overdrive E-Tanked is a back and forth set for sure, since despite like he hasn't played a ton, neither have played a ton offline, but the Wi-Fi experience can definitely help them out. So I think he does as projected, but I wouldn't be surprised if he took one or two sets home in losers to do decently well. I know last year he went to SmashCon and went 4-2. Let me look. Like, I know he went 4-2 because I remember him telling me about it. He lost to some pretty decent he lost to this guy and he lost to another, there you go, I have it pulled up now. He got 769th out of 2,431 at the last SmashCon, losing to Green Guy and Sam, but beating 3 players in losers, all of which were upsets by seed. So, he definitely has the potential to do really well, or well for his seed. It just was gonna come down to, "Hey, am I prepped enough for offline?" Because he hasn't attended a ton offline, so may not have a lot of prep, but if he can lock in, he maybe can take that set against E-Tanked and just kinda roll with his run from there, because he's gotta play a Falco right after, and, like, speaking as the Falco guy, he's not beating Falco Pac. That matchup is so bad, it's so bad for Pac-Man. It's like playing Pac-Mac if you're the Mac. It's just not great. It's not that bad, but it is very tedious, and I do not think he is ready for it. Offline, he's played me a lot, but I can only teach so much.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. You guys are pretty good friend, really good friends, and so you know you know more about his skill and where he's at. But again, it's just gonna be down to if he's prepped or not. Again, even if the matchup isn't bad, if you're prepped, you could potentially just go into any matchup and just ball. But Cody, anything you want to say about Overdrive before we move on?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't really think I have anything to say about him because like I've only fought in Overdrive like once or twice, and this is on Wi-Fi. But this was like 1 or 2 years ago, and I honestly I don't remember a whole lot of his playstyle or how he is. I honestly don't have much to comment on Overdrive because I just don't really know much of his playstyle or experience. So I really can't say anything on him. Honestly,
All
I just
right.
don't really have I just don't really have the knowledge.
No, yeah, fair enough. Like Scott said, he doesn't really go out there all that much, but again, it's just gonna come down to the prep and if he locks in per se. Last up for Ultimate, at least, we do have DJ Don seated 82nd. Seated 82nd. Does have a Smash Con under his belt. In terms of attendance, SmashCon 2023 got 129th out of 2,431 entrants, which is pretty good, pretty great. His bracket path, again, according to Smash Start.gg, is Mr. Flufficus, Truist, King Robo, Fuzix, is slated to lose to Tilde, but then after that, it's looking like they will take the dub on Seesaw, Pharaoh, and ultimately looking like they will lose to Kia Rash. What do you think?
I have so much to say about this run because I love this run for Dawn. Up to Tilde, he's beating Fushix, no doubt. Fushix is not very good in the Steve matchup, and Dawn is one of the better Steves. Like sometimes you could get top 8 at a B tier and be like, I'm just gonna go brawler, but this is not that type of tournament. He wants to just lock in and get a really good result since this is his final bracket before school starts, so he's not gonna have as much time to compete. He has a young one, so he's just gonna be busy a lot. But DJ Don Tilde, I have a lot to say about that particular matchup because he was gonna play him at Santa Claus. I gave him plenty of advice on that matchup, plenty of advice against Tilde. Tilde DQ'd, so he didn't get to play him. But SmashCon today is not going to DQ this time because he actually is going. But I gave Don plenty of advice on that matchup in Santa Claus and plenty of more for SmashCon because he asked me about it. So I think he's got that because Tilde also sucks at the Steve matchup, as much as I don't like to admit. He played Sewer Person at Comic Palooza and that was last hit. And Sewer Person is not as good as DJ Don. So I think if Don locks in and just exploits the fact that Tilde is very aggressive, and Dawn is very good at punishing aggressive players with his wacky play style. Wacky in a good way because he just builds random stuff and it works. But Tilde's gonna get flustered. Dawn can beat him. That's gonna be an upset, no doubt. I would not be surprised as long as Dawn is playing well. He is then going to lose to Yoshidora because Yoshidora plays Akala, and Dawn Akala is a very big gap in terms of skill.
Yeah.
So he's definitely gonna lose to if he beats Tilde. This is under the assumption he beats Tilde. So he's
Mhm.
gonna lose to Yoshidora, and then he's gonna play the Steve Ditto in Maze Beans. That is a very awkward set. So I do not know how that would go in particular, but I imagine Don could take it. And then if Don does take it, he has to play Geist, who is the best player in Ohio, not counting Cosmos. And he's gonna lose to Geist. Geist is just really good. He's very experienced in the Steve matchup. I understand Don plays Lima a lot, so he's very Steve Bayo prepped, but Geist is also just very good. But I would also not be surprised if he lost because Geist is sick. He's going to the tournament with some stomach problems, as he said on his Twitter. So stuff could happen to where he wouldn't be able to perform as well as he would want to.
Dang, yeah.
But I mean, he does have to. His path is weird because he has to play Andreas FN, but Andreas FN is DQing, so he'll likely play Jojo de Hobo, and that's a Toon Link, which he beats. So I think he's gonna have a pretty straightforward path. But if Geist, not Geist, if Dawn loses to Tilde, which he's projected to, same type of deal. Pharaoh is not pretty good in the Steve. He has a lot of Syrup and Stefan experience, but that could go either way. Seesaw doesn't have any Steve experience, so Don's gonna take that. Kirash will be interesting for sure. He does have a lot of Rockman experience, so again, I think it's one of those paths where Don, if he wants to get a good win, he's gonna have to beat Tilde. And if he doesn't beat Tilde, he has a hard path either way, because if he beats Tilde, he has to play the most experienced Yoshi in the Steve matchup, and that's not gonna go well for him. But if he loses to Tilde, it's just gonna come down to, do I know this matchup better than the other person? Just because at this point in the game's life, so many people have Steve experience,
Yeah.
and you're gonna wanna make sure that you will just out Steve the Steve deniers. That's how I take it, because a lot of people don't like Steve, and Don is one of those Steves that's just like, I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm gonna build random shit, and it's gonna hit you for 90 because I'm just built different. He's not a traditional Steve. That's what I've recognized. Like, he has a lot of
He's
funny
not.
clips where he just builds. He builds the most random thing. I remember a dream hack. He built the clubhouse, as Kimona called it, and killed Lima at like 20
Yep.
with like 5 minecart hits. So he does some goofy stuff. But just to sum it up, he beats Tilde, and if he doesn't beat Tilde, he's not gonna have a hard path, but it's just gonna come down to if his opponents know the Steve matchup or not. But if he beats Tilde, he's going to lose to Yoshidora, and then he has to play 2 Steves, projected at least. 2 Steves. He has to play Maze Beans in the Steve Ditto, and if he beats Geist or Geist doesn't make it there, he will play Crepe Sala.
Damn. He's
So
got a Steve
he's got a
path
Steve filled
anyways.
path if he beats Tilde.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
That's wild, dude. That's wild. That's very DJ Don coded regardless though. That's like such a thing that will happen to him. But yeah, no, leading up to this event, some notable placements recently at Saturday Stadium for Golden, which was a set, I will say. It was a bracket for him, which was a B tier, 7th out of 234. MomoCon B plus tier event, 9th out of 497. Low Tide City B plus tier event, 49th out of 474. Cody, anything you want to mention or say about Dawn? I know that Don is a very he's one of the more talked about players, especially with Ultra, just due to, again, like Scott said, his very unconventional playstyle when it comes to Steve, how quirky his playstyle and just him as an individual is. Anything you want to say about what Scott had mentioned, or just anything in general regarding DJ Don?
Well, Dawn is a player that I know has an exceptional talent. Obviously,
Yeah.
um, say what you want about like Minecraft Steve as a character. Obviously, I know people hate it, but Dawn out here is showing that I feel like he's one of the Steve players that you can't really say somebody's carried when they're performing as well as him, because the whole saying of saying if you play Steve you're automatically carried. I hate that saying so much because I've seen some people try to pick up the character and they can't do anything as well as what I've seen Don do. Don is probably out of all like the Steve player that I've interacted with, Don is definitely the one that I know has the definitely the most talent for sure. In terms of his results that I've seen, of course, what's Don's like best result anyway of like a recent memory?
Um,
Probably the ninth at MomoCon.
yeah, ninth at MomoCon,
That was
which was a B plus tier, and then I think, well, Low Tide was a B plus as well, but just recently he did top 8 Saturday Stadium for Golden, which was a B tier.
okay. Yeah, no, so results like that. Of course, we all know here that Don is a very talented player, definitely one of the best players on the team, if not the most talented player on the team. and at such a young age too. Don has like so much more room for growth, considering he's only like what 15 or 16, right?
16,
Yeah.
I believe.
Okay. Yeah, no, because like he has the. I can say one thing. I was not this good at Smash when I was his age. When I was his age, that's for damn sure. Um, but no, I think he has potential to even make it out of pools or even farther than that. Again, ninth at MomoCon is something to be proud of. Again, that was a B tier, right?
B
B
plus.
plus, yes.
B plus. Okay, so still around a B tier. Um, but like I know Don is definitely very exceptional when it comes to certain matchups, and I know he knows his way around quite a few of them. Who's in his bracket path right now?
Um,
He has to play Tilde. He has to play Fuchsix, which is gonna go his favor. It's a Sheik player. Doesn't have a lot of Steve experience. Like he plays J-Bone, but like Don is a lot better than J-Bone X. And then he plays Tilde. And Tilde, he is a very good player in his own right, but the problem with Tilde is he does have a DLC problem. He loses to a lot of Min-Mins, lost to Chag when he counterpicked him with Min-Min, and most notably, he does have a Steve problem. He always clutches it up in the end because the Steve players are not on par with Tilde. But I think Don is one of those players that has plenty of Falco experience. He plays Chef a lot in Texas, and he's got me in his back pocket when he needs advice. So he's got plenty of Falco resources, and Tilde doesn't really have the Steve experience at that level consistently. So he can definitely beat Tilde. But if he
I,
loses to
I,
Tilde, he has to play Seesaw and Tefero, who has Syrup and Stefan experience, and then he loses to Kiarash, who has Rockman experience.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think he can definitely beat Tilde. I think that's definitely a big possibility. Just knowing what you described there about Tilde, so like DLC or Steve problem. Um, Going to losers if he gets sent to losers by Tilde. Honestly, I don't know really how much has knowledge on the players that he'd have to fight there. But my overall opinion on Don, what his run could look like, honestly, I can see him making it past like top 120. I'm very confident in that.
One second.
yeah, anything. I feel like with any, especially with the DFW boys, I feel like literally anything could happen with them. You know, literally anything. Same thing with Osh. You know, again, I didn't get to say my spiel on Osh earlier, because again, I was fucking muted. But you know, yo, thank you so much, Mo. Welcome. Thank you so much for the raid, dude. Party of 7. Welcome in. You
Oh,
joined
yo.
us. You joined us at a time when we were doing the podcast. So welcome in to anybody watching. We're doing a Supernova predictions podcast. This is going to be live I think later tonight or potentially tomorrow, just because I did a big oopsie, and so I gotta do some editorial work when I didn't really intend to or plan to. But regardless, welcome to all the raiders. Thank you so much, Mo. Hopefully you're doing well. We're talking about Supernova once again. But yeah, no, again, with the DFW boys, and I think literally anybody, it all just comes down to the being ready for specific matchups, and it's gonna really come down to just again locking in, making sure that I don't know, there's a lot of factors. Again, the fifth biggest Smash Ultimate bracket period is insane, right? Is insane, and there's gonna be a lot of different things, and I will get into this later on. But I have a feeling that this tournament is gonna be a fucking bloodbath. Like I have a feeling
Oh
that
yeah, for
things that
sure.
we'll get into our overall bracket predictions, not nothing with Ultra relating, but I have a strong feeling that there's gonna be some crazy shit happening at this tournament. And I don't think top 8 is going to be, there's going to be some contenders there for top 8 that are honestly, you know, there. I wouldn't be surprised if we see like an Akala or Mia or anything like that at a top 8, but I feel like there's going to be people who top 8 who we potentially don't expect. But yeah, unfortunately Scott's not here. There's only one person left for Ultra, and that's Misfire, our sole melee player representing Ultra for melee. Not sure exactly what his bracket path is looking like. I could actually look that up right now. But yeah, Misfire, our lonely um here we go. Let me bring up his bracket path here shortly. And it looks like for him, If I can find his name. The first player that he has to fight is Stutter Step Steven, followed by Hyper. It looks like shortly thereafter they will lose, or predicted to lose, to Counter Picker Kevin. And over on losers, it's looking like they
Counterpicker Kevin. I love that name.
yeah, Counter Picker Kevin. It's looking like on losers they will face up against Andrew 2000, and it's looking like they potentially will win that. This is leading up to phase 2, top 128. And if we show the projected, it's looking like they will face up against Joe ST, which is looking like they will win that, and then after that they will eventually fall, or predicted to fall, to Marxist X Athena. Um, so pretty interesting stuff there. Any notable people in his bracket path? It's looking like Spark is in there. And again, I don't really recognize any other people, but Scott, since you're here, anything you want to add to the misfire stuff? I just went down his bracket path, or potential bracket path.
Yeah, I see it. First off, thank you for the raid, Mo. It's very much appreciated. And
Yeah,
second of all, I think his rank goes as projected. He plays Luigi. He's been doing well, but he has to have the right type of path in order to do well. Like you see it with other Luigis. Eddie Mexico is very good, but he gets a path and it's just really bad for him because Luigi's just not a great character. Cody, you would know that well. Like, tell me more specifically about Luigi and Melee.
So in terms of his looking for his bracket run, again, I know Alex just listed off the people that he has to fight up against. I don't know any of those players, so I don't know who they play. As someone that has experience with Melee and Luigi for pretty much the whole course of my Melee career when I was competing in it, um, if you're up playing against any of a sword character for the most part, you're gonna struggle as Luigi for the most part, especially if it's Marth. Marth or Link is probably going to be your freaking like dire situation when it comes to sword fighters. Maybe even young Link to extent, not a whole lot. But yeah, the thing is with Luigi is if you're off stage for too long, you're just not coming back because your recovery sucks. The only way you're coming back is if you have Rising Cyclone, you have to mash the heck out of that. Or if you have a misfire, as his username is misfire. No pun intended with that. Um,
very on brand.
very on brand, yeah. Again, I don't know which kind of what kind of characters he's gonna be fighting because again, I don't know the people he's fighting up against. But from what I know about how Melee Luigi is played, um, if you're up against Spaceys, you're gonna have to camp a lot, and if you're up against Marth, you're gonna probably have one hell of a time because that's Luigi's worst matchup in the entire game. I wouldn't even wish my worst enemy to fight Marth as Luigi and Melee. I would never wish that on anybody because it's terrible. um, but yeah, honestly, I think with his previous results though, I'm expecting his bracket path to go as projected. Maybe an upset. I don't know. I'm not really counting on it, but I guess we'll see what the weekend brings. That's all I have really about to say on it.
Yeah, they are slated. They're seated 141st, out of 905. So pretty decent seat, I will say. Um, for Misfire there. Definitely interested to keep up with their run as I am everybody else here. But yeah, that's the ultra side of things when it comes to Supernova. Some potential for some incredible stuff there. Some stuff maybe could go as predicted there here on Star GG, but I'm really hoping for some crazy stuff. I was mentioning to Cody while you were away, Scott, but I'm predicting that with the caliber of talent that is at this event, that this event is just gonna be a fucking bloodshed. That there's gonna be a lot of things, and again, I guess now we could get into what we predict will happen. But I'm gonna say that besides some very obvious contenders for top 8, there's gonna be potentially people that we don't even consider in top 8 that are going to make top 8. But I guess like I mentioned, we can get right into that. The first question I do want to ask you guys, and one of the questions that I had written down for us was just right off the bat, ripping off the band-aid. Who do you think will take the crown of Supernova?
For Ultimate, Akala, and for Melee, I'm gonna go with it's either gonna be Cody Schwab, HBox, or Mango.
Okay. Some pretty, I will say, pretty standard predictions. I think for me personally, and we'll find out today, because Scott, you mentioned that the top 10 are released today, right? Yeah, they're being
Tonight
unveiled.
at 8. So in 10 minutes. In 10 minutes.
Oh man, that'd be super sick to react to. That would be really cool. But yeah, in 10 minutes, top 10 is going to be revealed. Do you want to say your predictions right now, Scott, for not the top 10, but who do you think will take the crown of Supernova? You don't have to include Melee if you don't want to, but if you want to, you can.
Yeah, I watch Melee. I'm very well versed in Melee. I just am not well versed in Luigi. But for Ultimate, I think it's gonna be hard, obviously, because
Yeah.
there's gonna be a lot of different sets that'll be played. In particular, I'm looking at top 8 qualifiers. Spargo has to play Mia, and Spargo has never played Mia, and Akala is gonna be playing Shattuck, and they've also never played. So so I would say Mia's gonna win the event, but Spargo Mia is very unfavorable for Mia because Cloud is very good into Game & Watch. Akala and Shattuck, they've never played. I know Akala's played Neo a couple times, but Shattuck plays very differently from Neo, and Neo has a lot of Steve experience. He played DJ Don for like 2 days straight on stream just to prep for Akala. So I think he's gonna be well versed in that matchup because like I know the skill gap again is very large, but Don is also very knowledgeable. So I believe he's got that. So let's say Akala loses to Shattuck and Mia loses to Spargo. I think either way, even if those upsets don't go as projected, I think Sonics wins the whole event. He's got a very favorable path for him. He's beaten Akala very favorably in the past, and he's up on Shattuck now. I know the Luminosity Invitational didn't go particularly well for him into Shattuck, but nowadays he's been doing pretty well into some of the top players that he's in his path with. He's never played Shuton, but judging from his sets that he's played with Leo's Aegis and Spargo's Aegis, I'm sure he's got no particular problems there. And then looking even before that, he's got to play, I think that's Hero. Is that Hero? The Bowser player? Or is that, no, that's Snow. And Mario Sonic is dog water for Mario. So I think he's got a very favorable path just to win the event. He's seeded to lose to Akala twice, which is probably not going to happen because he's very good into Akala. So I would say Sonics wins Ultimate, and then I think Mango takes Melee just because he's been on a very big hot streak lately. I know Mango's very inconsistent. He just won Tipped Off 15, which was his first super major in 2 years, but when Mango's locked in, Mango's locked in. So I wouldn't be surprised if some old guard took it like Mango or Hungry Box. I don't think Zane or Cody are even gonna make grands. I think Cody's gonna get upset by a DK or something.
Well,
And
Yeah,
Zane's not
right.
Zane's just
even
gonna fall to like
there.
yeah,
Yeah,
Zane's not even there. He's sick. So it's like
yeah.
Yeah.
I would want Amza to win, but that's gonna be very hard for him. But
Oh,
Zane is also
dude.
not in attendance, so it's like maybe, but it's also he has a very, very bad box problem. So my goat is not looking good, but I think it's gonna be a Hungry Box or Mango win because Hungry Box has been itching. And that is the only big tournament Hungry Box has never won.
Yeah,
So I think if he
Supernova.
wins that, he might be the goat.
If he wins that, then yeah, there's gonna be a lot of discussions about that. But so for me, again, I think that there's gonna be a lot of things that happen here. Talking about specifically Ultimate that maybe we are not even predicting to. Um, but I think if I'm being realistic, I think it's gonna go to Mia. And honestly, looking at the seating, I kind of expect it's a toss up, dude. I don't haven't kept up with Akala. I haven't kept up with Mia too much in terms of their results or whatever. But honestly, I wouldn't be too surprised if Mia ends up landing that number 1 spot in the top 10 today. I just think that Mia is just on a whole lot another level. If Akula wins this, then yeah, he's like just gonna be solidified as the GOAT for sure. But I think, like you mentioned, I think Sonic's, because at the top, there's
Solidified as
always,
the GOAT?
huh?
Solidified as the GOAT? That's crazy. Over Leo?
Well, no, I meant like the official rankings. You know what I mean? Not my personal GOAT, but like
I
just
was
in
I was
terms
gonna
of
s
it.
I was gonna say over Leo is absolutely crazy.
No, no,
I,
no,
I,
no,
I,
no, no.
I was about to leave the call. No, I'm kidding.
Absolutely not. No, if I was doing seeding, top 10 seeds would be all Leo, bro. Straight up. I don't know how that would work, but he would be top 10 seed all day, every
Oh,
day.
no, yeah. Yeah,
But
that's right.
but no, yeah, I'm just saying in terms of the rankings. But I feel like that first and second seed, maybe a lot of people are focusing on it. But I think just like you mentioned, I feel like Sonic's has been he's been long overdue for a win like this. I think at I think Smash Factor where Shiny Mark took it over him.
Barely, yes.
Yeah, I remember specifically watching that tournament, and there was some very unfortunate things that happened during their sets that legitimately just cost Sonics that dub. Like I think that if those things didn't happen, I think there was a specific moment where Sonics was ahead. I think it was like a two stock situation. Sonic was ahead. Sonics was ahead, and he unfortunately SD'd, and it just completely turned the tide. You give Shiny Mark the lead. It's GG's essentially, right? And it was already like super low on time. There was absolutely no chance. And there's been specific moments like that. There's been there's been numerous homing attack situations with Sonics as well, and I just hope that none of that happens for his personal sake. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this is the one that he takes. Again, there's certain matchups like you said where Akila, I know that he recently did get the dub over Spargo, which was a big thing for him, but again, prior to that, Spargo has had his number previously. And I don't know with Mia. I'm saying I don't know with Mia. Of course, he is seeded number one, and he could have just easily take the event. But there's also been times where he's gone game 5, last stock situation with Hungrybox. So you just never know what could happen, especially at an event to this caliber. I also fully expect Shattuck to have an insane run. He's definitely a dark horse in that top 10 seeding to keep an eye out. And of course, you can never count out Spargo in that situation. But if we're being realistic, I think it's either, I'm just going to say Mia. Honestly, I just think it's going to say, I'm just going to play the safe bait and say Mia. In terms of Melee, though, of course, being a big fan of Hungrybox, I would love if Hungrybox just won. He's been on that 90-day detox. He's been grinding. He did win Smash Factor recently, so that definitely boosts the morale for him a bit there too. I know that I don't remember what the tournament was. I think it was like Warehouse War, or what was it?
Yes.
Warehouse War 4, I think it was, where he lost to Aklo in a way that he potentially didn't want to lose to him. And so he's been grinding. He's been solely focusing on Melee this entire time. But honestly, of course, Cody Schwab could just easily come through and just win it. Mango, like you said, has been on a hot streak. Did go to Smash Factor, just mainly went for fun. He didn't play Falco, I think, at all. I think he was just kind of playing pocket characters. But honestly, as much as I love Hungrybox, I would love to see Jmook win this. Like, I feel like if Jmook wins this, I would not be mad about that at all. He's been cooking. He's had, again, one of those players where certain things just don't line up for him. Certain instances mid set. I think there was a specific, I don't remember the tournament or who he was facing. It might have been up against Cody, where his controller messed up mid set and it just completely shifted the morale for him. I think my prediction's gonna be Jmook. I think with Zayn out of the way, and with how much I know that Jmook grinds up against Cody, then it could potentially be the situation with him where he just takes the dub. Of course, there's dark horses like Moki, who I think does have Hungrybox's number at this point, and he is slated to beat Hungrybox going into top 8. You do have Plup in that top 8 prediction as well. Plup, again, a dark horse. You never know with him. One of the OGs too. And again, if Amsa wins this, it's gonna do a lot for the culture. It's gonna do a lot for melee. I will say.
The venue is getting destroyed if Amsa
Yeah,
wins in a
there's
good
gonna
way.
it's gonna be fucking mayhem if Amsa takes the dub in this bracket. But I'm gonna say for Ultimate Mia, for um for melee, you know what? I'll still say Hungry Box just because I'm a big fan of Hungry Box. But if I wasn't, I would say J Mook. I'm gonna say Hungry Box for sure though. But yeah, that's the big overarching question though. But I don't know if this is too big of a daunting task, and if you guys feel like maybe again it is, but well, I'll save it till the end. But who is a player that you think? I know that there's a ton of different players for both games, but are there any names that come to mind that you think will have a breakout run? Again, I said earlier that I'm fully expecting top 8 for potentially both games to not look how it is predicted or how many people might think that it might go. And are there any players that you think will have a breakout run, potentially breaking into that top 8, or potentially taking a look at their seed will greatly surpass it?
Mars makes top 4.
Two players
Damn.
that two players that come to mind to me immediately are Crepe Sala from France and Wilds from Kentucky. Speaking on Crepe Sala in particular, he's been now the crowned king of Europe, recently overtaking Gluto as the #1 player in the EUPR.
Yeah.
And I believe they both have to play. Wilds and Crepe Sala have to play. So I think Crepe Sala is going to take that. But he has a lot of Bayo experience playing Bloom. So he can definitely beat Tama P. I'm just gonna say Tama P because that's the shortened version. And Shattuck, while again having a lot of Steve experience, could fall to Crepe Sala, in which then he would play Aquila, and then he's gonna lose to Aquila. No one's gonna beat him unless your name is
1 second.
Sonics. But he's gonna then play Light, which Light has historically also struggled against Steves, so that could go into his favor as well. And then he'd get top 8 to play Shuton, which could go either way. So Crepe Sala is definitely he's the definition of a dark horse because I feel like everybody above him, like even people around him, like you could see Leo getting top 8, you could see Onan getting top 8, Mude, Snow. Even below that, you could see the Buzz, who got third last year. You could see those players making top
That's
8. Again,
crazy.
it's gonna
I
be a
forgot about that.
wild second last year because he beat Mia twice. So he's got like so many things going for him. I will retract my wild answer because his path does not look particularly great. But I think if you want a dark horse, you want Crepe Sala because he's the new. I learned some lore recently. He was one of Pluto had this academy back when he was he was back when he was Leo of Europe, basically, where he was just winning everything. He had this
Oh yeah.
academy where he taught a bunch of players like Bloom, Raplo, and Crepe Sala was one of them. So he is overtaking Crepe Sala both with Steve and Wario. So he can go he can go anywhere he wants to. I think Crepe Sala is gonna be the player to focus on, whether you're a Steve hater or not. I think he's gonna do great things at this event. Of course, this is SmashCon, or Supernova rather. There's gonna be a bound full of upsets no matter the no matter the time of day. It's gonna be one hell of a bracket. I think if things go projected, the questions are gonna be, can Mia get over the hurdle of Spargo? But even before that, can Spargo just get over the hurdle of not getting upset? Because he
Yeah.
did that at Kowloon. He got past he got upset by Dormigi, he did get that run back and got third. And of course, Aquila beat him for the first time, but he was projected to lose that. So it's like, can he survive? He's got to play Syrup in top 64, and then to play me into Mia, he's got to play his longtime rival Light, and that could go either way.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't get upset, the question would be if Mia can finally beat Spargo because he's never beaten Spargo. So if Mia can beat Spargo, he can definitely win the event. But in general, You're gonna look at dark horses like Crepe Sala. You're gonna look at dark horses like again, DeBuzz is gonna be another dark horse. He literally got second at the last SmashCon. So I feel like if he's willing to come back and is like because he's been playing a lot more Street Fighter. So it's like I don't know if he's gonna be up to par as he was last year, but he can definitely make a run. I'm not gonna look too far down because it's kinda outrageous to say Mars is gonna get 4th. Like, I Mars is my GOAT, don't get me wrong, Cody, but is he
Wait,
gonna be a Steve player?
wait, who? Sorry, I was sorry. I was
Mars.
correcting
Is he
somebody.
gonna beat Syrup?
He made top
He
eight
has
at.
beaten Siski in the past, so, like, I wouldn't put it past him to beat Siski. So if he can beat Siski, he
He
would
can.
play Mia.
He can. I believe he
Can he
can.
beat Mia?
He can do it. He can do it. I believe.
But yeah, I would
I'm
say
o- I'm
my
o- I'm
dark
only saying that because Mars is one of my favorite players to watch, and I want more ZSS representation in top eight, bro. So that's my bias, just because I like watching him play all the time. But I'm just trying to remain optimistic about
nah, that's fair, that's fair. So I'd say my
it.
dark horses are both Crepe Sala and Tarek. Tarek, but even before he beat Akala like an hour ago, I would
hmm
say Tarek's also he's been one of Europe's best players for a while. It's just whenever he does travel, all he needs to not get top 50 is one bad loss because Europe just doesn't have events. So I think now going to SmashCon, having the Akala win and the really good performance at the SFM Invitational, I think he's got a good run in him to potentially get that top 8 run if he's, continuing to perform really well and the burnout doesn't hit him. So we're just gonna have to see. It's gonna be a very fun event. It's gonna be a chaotic event. It always is. Last year we saw Sonics not even make it to top 32, which was kind of crazy. No, it was Spargo. Spargo at 49. So I think
Yeah,
Sonics got
last year was
25th.
freaking wild.
So it's like anything is gonna happen. Especially this year, we have so many more Japanese representatives. Obviously, you have your Miya and Akala who were there last year, Shuton, all those people were there last year. So was Asimo, but then you have the new blood of Japan coming out with Hurt, Tamapi, Snow, who else? There's one more. Neo gonna this is his breakout last year was SmashCon 2023. So and he lost to Shattuck really badly in the exhibition match. So if you're Neo, you want to like really lock into high gear and be able to just get over the hump because SmashCon was that hump, and then he broke that hump at Genesis, almost beating Sonics. So it's like he wants to do that again. He wants to have that type of run. So I think any of these top 32 seeds can do it. But if I were to bet my money on someone to do it, it would be Crepe Sala.
Buddy, what about you? I know you mentioned Mars, but is that your legit pick?
Honestly, I find I'm not really good at picking stuff like this, like who I think is gonna have a breakout. Um, although can I say one for melee? It's not for ultimate.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, if I had to pick one for melee, honestly, well, first off, is what's his name? Is Josh Man here at this one?
Yes.
Honestly, from what I've seen him playing before, honestly, I think Josh Man, or I don't know if you could count Amsa. Well, Amsa, I don't know what the last time I've seen Amsa make even like a top 4 in a bracket. I think it's been a little bit since then. Um, I think ones that I think that might have the most upsets for the most part, I think I'm predicting is going to be Josh Man and Amsa. Those are the
Okay.
two that come to my mind from recent memory.
Yeah, I think with Damza, it's just I think his only limitation is that like certain matchups for Yoshi, but I mean at the end of the day, it is fucking Amsa. So if anybody's gonna make it happen, it's definitely him. I think for me, um, I want to say that if I were to pick like a dark horse or anything like that, or something similar to that, um, I'm gonna have to pretty much agree. Crepe Sala definitely has been a player to watch. Pretty much, I don't know. They've just been on the come up. They've just been proving to be pretty much established themselves right now to be the GOAT of Europe. Overtaking Gluto and I think this is the scene or the stage for them to prove that, and I would love to see them continue to prove that in a big event such as this one. Um, it's crazy to even say that Leo is a dark horse, but again, it's just a matter of how locked in he is or how serious it is. I know that a lot of people criticize him for his whenever he's fighting up against a Steve, and so if it doesn't seem he's fighting Chase, he's fighting
No Steve's in
Lima.
his path.
Imagine
Yeah,
if
If it
someone
goes projected though, Mutace, the run back against Mutace should be very exciting.
yeah, that would be really, really cool to see for sure. Again, the Buzz, literally got second last year, so that'd be really awesome to see. I'm honestly hoping, if he gets top 8, that'd be fucking awesome, but I really want to see Chunky Kong get a insane fucking run. Like get Chunky Kong into top 24. Um and face off against, because I know right now they are slated to make top, what is it, I think they're slated to
Top
lose, but
48.
yeah, they're slated to lose a little bit before or just right before top 24. So I would love to see Chunky Kong go on an insane run. Just because I know that he's very much the player, just seeing his posts on like on Twitter and whatnot, he the mentality definitely is something that gets in the way of his bracket runs or his potential to achieve that greatness. But I would absolutely love to see Chunky Kong get a bracket run that really proves to him that he is just that fucking great, the goat with DK. And I would love to see him make it happen. Another player when it comes to ultimate that I see, I'm a huge fan of Osimo. I don't know exactly if that is considered to be like a dark horse or anything like that, because again, just based off experience and his performances over there in Japan, I would love to see it just in the sense that it's a fucking it's a Shoto. So I think those two. I think if my realistic pick is for sure Chunky Kong. Over in Melee, um, and I'm only saying this just because I'm a big fan of them, but I right now they're slated to lose to Aklo before top 8, but I really hope Magi makes top 8 or potentially pushes it further. I think she just has all the skill and all the potential to potentially have that breakout run and continue to prove and essentially establish themselves as the one of the best Falco players period in Melee. And so I really would love to see them go far. And but we'll see. That Spacies matchup, Falco Fox and Melee can be very volatile. But it could go either way, you know? It could definitely go either way. So those are my two picks for sure. So yeah, I think the last question that I want to ask you guys is, who do you think, because again, like I mentioned, this is going to be a fucking bloodbath. There's going to be a ton of upsets, and this might be hard to predict or anything like that. But taking a look at the seeding, of course, seeding, you could throw it out the window. Sometimes you can. It doesn't really mean much of anything at the end of the day. Because again, at the caliber of this event, literally anything could happen. But who do you think, based off their seeding, will fall early due to the bracket path? Who is a player that maybe a lot of people are potentially putting a lot of stock on, or maybe just due to that bracket path? I know that you mentioned a couple of instances where certain players haven't overcome a specific other player. A matchup is not favorable to their character. But is there anybody that you potentially see falling a little early, uh you know before they get to where they need to, where they're predicted to be with their seeding?
Leo's gonna lose to a Mario in pools.
All right,
There's
Cody,
no.
No,
you're out of this
He's
call.
got no Marios in his.
no,
He's
God,
got.
God.
He's got to play Luigi. That's the closest thing, but he's very positive on Luigi's.
No, I'm
But
only
speaking
joking.
of, that's my answer. I think Luigi is gonna drop very early.
Loogie.
Yes, because there's two people in particular that he's got to play. He's got to play Ling, and Ling. We all know Ling very well, especially in the Wi-Fi scene. He's just a very dominant type of player. He's plays Guy all the time in his region, like relative region, just because they travel a lot in New England. But I think he can get upset even before that. He plays Time Gear, who is a Min player in Ohio. He is one of the most experienced Min players in the Luigi matchup, while Luigi doesn't have a lot of Min experience. So I would not be surprised at all if Time Gear's playing really well because his mentality can be a little iffy sometimes. But if he's locked in, I could see Time Gear beating Luigi and upsetting him very early. But if he doesn't beat him early, I think Ling can take that upset and knock him before he has to play Leo. And Ling, the Leo would be a hype set. Outside of that, though, Tilde is going to get upset by Dawn. That's the other person I think is going to get upset early, just because he doesn't got that Steve matchup experience, unfortunately. But since it's Dawn, I can't be complaining because I always like seeing Dawn do really well. So yeah, those are what be my two picks.
Nice.
Honestly, I don't really. Is Cola at this bracket or no?
Yeah, he's
Yes.
actually supposed to make top 24 and is slated to lose to T once as soon as they get there.
What about Cosmos? Is he there too? No.
You're just
Uh
picking the people who get upset early. That's crazy. Cosmos is not there.
Cosmos is not
I
actually
think.
And
not
give
there?
Cosmos some slack, bro. He got tops 8 at Smash Factory. He just beat Sparko for the first time.
Wait, who? Wait, Cola or?
Cosmos.
It's Cosmos.
Oh,
Yeah,
never
he
mind.
just did.
Honestly, I don't really have a pick for this, to be honest with you. I honestly can't think of it. Well, actually, because it's happened before. My pick though is however is for melee. It's not for ultimate. I think because this happened. It has happened before. It's somewhat kind of happened to him at Gommel. Although it wasn't like super early on, but it was more earlier than a lot of people would have expected. I think it's possible. This is again, I'm not really throwing this as a prediction, but I think it's a possibility that Cody Schwab could kind of fall out before top 8 because it happened to him at Gommel in a couple tournaments before that. So that could repeat. History could repeat itself.
You know what? I was gonna actually say that because I was thinking about melee, but I was gonna say that too. I think that one of those like super obvious, or at least what people think are super obvious for them to potentially win or even make it super far. I think Cody Schwab could potentially. Didn't he lose to a DK player not too long ago?
He lost. That is the biggest upset in Melee history. He lost to a random DK player at I think Gommel, right? So it wasn't Gommel, but it was something big of that nature.
Yeah. So of course, Cody Schwab is definitely one of those players that like is just is a grind machine, just grinds, and I don't think But again, literally anything could happen at that point. But if we're talking melee, just due to you just never know. Maybe he wants to just take the dub. He actually locks in. I could for sure see Mango potentially falling a little bit before top 8. Maybe even just the match before top 8. Um, I could see Plup potentially not making it. I know that he's seated pretty high, but he's definitely one of those players that I could see, up again getting upset. I'm not sure if he's been traveling a whole lot or has attended anything huge as of late. Not sure, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember. I know that he just recently lost that streak of top 8ing literally everything for years. And I know that he's been on that detox, but honestly, I with the caliber, I feel like something crazy could happen to where Hungrybox loses before top 8. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's
That'd be
bold, but I
crazy.
kind of feel like something could happen where he just doesn't top 8 Supernova.
That's
Yeah,
very bold.
his top 8 streak that he had for a decade is over now because that
Yeah,
got
that's what
broken at. Wait, what tournament did that get broken at? I forget.
I'm not sure. Um
I know it was this year. It was just like a couple months ago.
yeah, I know that he lost to Moki. I think it was that he lost to Moki to not make top 8 because I remember
Okay, yeah, I remember that. I just don't remember what tournament it was at.
not sure.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah, I'm not sure,
What
but
was,
I know that's
yeah.
bold, and I know that I might get blamed for that. I don't want that to happen. Realistically, I want him to win, but just I know that he's previously, let's see, before top 64, he's slated to fight, and he's gonna do this from losers. He's slated to fight Josh Man. and he gets sent down to losers by Cody. Right now, I know that he does have Cody's number in terms of set wins this year. And I think he's the only player to have that. So I wouldn't be surprised if he actually does end up upsetting Cody Schwab to get into top 8 winners side just because of that track record. But again, it's Cody. Anything could happen with him. And then Josh, man, again, it's the DK. You know, there's a DK renaissance happening right now in Melee, and you cannot count out the DK the Melee DKs. But in terms of ultimate, honestly, I don't know. I could see Zomba falling a little bit early, believe it or not. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a specific reason as to why. I just feel like that's something that could be probable. As much as I don't want it to happen, maybe Leo also. I know last year. What did Leo get last year?
He lost. I know he lost to Gact. I think he got 17th.
Got 17th. Okay, he did better than Spargo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
Yes.
Spargo got legit upset.
He got 49. He got 49.
That's wild. Yeah, I remember that. Everybody was tripping out about that.
Because he lost to was it I know he lost to Lie. Was it Aaron? I think he lost to Aaron
Yeah,
last
he
year.
did. He lost to He lost to Aaron. So I remember Aaron popped the fuck off. Yeah, I remember it was Aaron. I think maybe my pick is just gonna be potentially Zomba.
It's hard to predict these things. Like
It's
no one would
super
have
hard to
predicted
predict.
last year that not for positive stuff, no one would have predicted the
The
Buzz to get
buzz.
second.
Yeah.
Especially since historically speaking, SmashCon has been DeBuzz's worst like big bracket that he's attended, and then he won. And he got second, losing to Aquila. So
And
it's
then
like
the
that's
year before
crazy.
it was Aquila and Meister, or Onin and Meister, right? At 2022.
Yeah, no one would have predicted because Onan wasn't like that guy yet. And Meister, like he's always been really good, but you wouldn't have thought he would got there. So it's like anything could happen. We could see Leo win SmashCon for the first time in a billion years. We could see someone like Snow win. Tama P could we could see anybody really win. It's just gonna come down to like what's gonna happen on the day of. Because the biggest speaking as someone who's just well traveled at this point, mentality, especially when you go out of region, is very hard to like lock in for, even if you're a top player. There's of course jet lag and whatnot, but the thing that's just so hard is just locking in on the day of with that jet lag and out of region in mind. Even if you're well practiced, it's just gonna sting, and you just wanna, especially if you're one of these top players who does this for money and does this to keep a sponsor, it's just a lot. So it's just gonna come down to mentality of the day of and see how everybody's really playing.
Yeah, not only just that, but you're also playing with, you know, players from different countries, different play styles. Maybe you're used to fighting a specific character a specific way because that's who you have readily available to you. But then you have someone else coming out from a different country and just completely plays, the polar opposite of what you're used to. Um, that's all the questions that I had about that. I am extremely excited to see how this goes with the bracket. I'm always excited to see how brackets like these go. Um, you know, I wasn't I wasn't there on finals day for Genesis. I was there pretty much, the 2 days before. Um, but even then, as a spectator, looking at that top 8, that's not how I predicted that top 8 to happen. I don't think anybody did either. I think a lot of people never count out Zamba, but I don't think a lot of people predicted that he would win it. Especially with Sonics being there. Who else was part of top 8? I forget. Neo was there.
Fargo,
Yeah, Spargo. Neo was there. Uh,
Chatwick.
yeah, Shattuck. I was really happy to see Shattuck win, or not win, but like get that top 8. But any final thoughts on Supernova before we wrap it up? We've been going for a little bit over 2 hours now, but anything you guys want to mention? Final words,
I
words of
don't really have
encouragement.
any. I don't really have anything, but I just want to say good luck to all the Ultra players out there, and I'm rooting for all of you. And I'm excited to see how the weekend goes. There's one thing I was gonna mention earlier. This is kind of a joke, so I guess I'll throw this in here. Can you imagine if somebody bet all their life savings on Leo winning Supernova?
Bro. Why are you calling me out like that, dog? Yeah. Why are you calling me out like that, homie?
Damn, 11 exposed live.
The end of Ultra and the document is just I lost all my savings on Leo. Signed
I
11.
still love you, Leo. I still love you, Leo, my goat. And it's just a picture of that fucking dog that says Damo, Leo.
The funny thing with Leo too is like like the dragon meme where Leo showed like
Yeah,
the 3 dragons to riddles.
yeah.
Yep.
Meister outplaced them all in the ranking this season.
Meister, yeah, I saw another post recently where it was like somebody quote retweeting that and it's like Meister really locked the fuck in after this picture. And he did, dude.
Yep.
He did. He's been locking in.
Yeah, as for my final words, as Cody said, good luck to all the Ultra players this weekend. There's 11 of you guys competing, 10 of you in Ultimate, 1 of you in Melee. Some of you guys, this is your first SmashCon, so take it in. It's a very once in a lifetime type experience. I've never experienced it, but from what I've heard other
Yeah,
people saying, it's just like it's a convention, it's a very big event. It's usually going to be a top 10, top 5 event of the year of all time. It's all time. It's always going to be an all-time event. So you're going to want to make sure you make the most out of it, make some good connections, make some great memories and just have fun. If you just focus on the bracket the whole time, you're not going to get all of what you want out of that event. And that goes for every event you go to. So
yeah,
just have fun, and if you do really well, then that's awesome, but if not, you got 4 days that you're there for at max. So, like, just enjoy those 4 days. You're only gonna be here once a year at if once in your lifetime for that matter, if you decide to only go once. So it's like, take it for what you want, take it for what you get, and just have a lot of fun. And if you do well, that's great. If you don't do well, whatever, there's always gonna be more brackets, but either way, we're all always gonna be proud of you and just keep balling out. And the event's gonna be chaotic, so if you get upset, next thing you know, Mia's gonna get upset. So like anything's
yeah.
gonna happen. It's gonna be a wild bracket. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what both of you guys said is exactly what I was saying. What I want to say is that with the exception of Rivals 2, every other event here is literally a celebration of Smash Brothers, and that's what it is. And if there is a specific event that is on my bucket list to attend and one that I really want to make a thing happen next year, it's definitely Supernova. Again, it's a celebration of this community, of the games that we all come together to play, whether you love it or you hate it. It is what it is. And like Scott said, if your bracket doesn't go as you would like it to go, enjoy everything else. Enjoy the artist alley, go to the panels, go to the combo contest, which I think is literally happening right now.
It just
Yeah.
ended.
It just ended, so you can't go to that anymore. But literally go enjoy literally everything and anything. Take the opportunity to meet people, to say hi to your favorite players that you've only seen, that you've been keeping up with. Tell them how much they inspire you. Take pictures with your friends. Go out to eat. Have fun. Have fucking fun. I think at the end of the day, that's what matters. And like Scott said, this only happens once a year, or potentially once in your life. Because again, not a lot of people get the opportunity to travel. It is fucking expensive. Not everybody lives right there, right next to the venue, or driving
Hi.
distance to the venue. And so take this opportunity to make connections, make a name for yourself, not only just in the bracket, but with the people that are there. So have fun. Shout out to everybody from Ultra that is competing, that is just there. Big shout out to Bargain. Shout out to Fuller. Who else is there that's not competing?
Russ.
Who was that?
Russ.
Yeah, shout out to Russ. And shout out to all the competitors. And I'm excited. I'm really excited to see how this bloodbath fucking goes.
Yeah,
For
it's gonna be
both.
a banger.
It's gonna be a fucking banger. Or we could just end up with the third year in a row where it's even if it's Steve, who cares? I'm interested to see who ends up at that final 2 at the end of the day. I'm interested to see how top 8 is gonna look like. But all right, guys,
And it's not just Ultimate either. We got Melee.
we got Melee. Yep, absolutely. I'll keep up with Rivals because Rivals is a really fun game to play. But we'll see. But anyways, take care, stay safe, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube and you're wondering what happened at the beginning, why am I not talking, and why is it only cut to Scott breaking down specific players or Cody giving his input, it's because I fucking forgot to unmute, and so I hop in after Nevo. So yeah, I'll make it happen, don't worry. But thank you so much. If you guys enjoyed it, please stay tuned. I really would like to do a recap episode to see how we did in terms of predictions. Maybe we were correct, maybe we were wrong. We could potentially get Champ in here and give us his breakdown of it, and maybe get somebody else in here to detail their experience with it. But regardless, if you guys enjoyed the podcast, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe for future videos, and stay tuned for more content from us. And we'll see you on the next one.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
Peace.